Okay, so I'm gonna be reviewing Voices of a Distant Star, Words of Love Across the Stars. This is a novel, I guess, from the t- 2002, uh, I guess the animation of Voices of a Distant Star. Um, the person that made, what was it, 5 centimeters per second, Your Name, and The Garden of Words, I believe. They uh, they pretty much made this story. So honestly, this is one of the best, like, kind of like love story, like sci-fi's I've read so far. It's honestly a really good, like, love story. So pretty much, this book was it was better than I was expecting. Like at first, it kind of I wasn't expecting it to get good, but it definitely it's definitely a good novel. I guess with this book compared to the animation, this one gets like more detailed into just like the whole universe, the aliens and everything. Pretty much gives you a lot of backstory, describes a lot more of just everything in this book. So pretty much, yeah, it's about Mikako. She's pretty much that girl right there. And Nobu. They're pretty much like just middle schoolers that used to hang out all the time and they liked each other a lot. And pretty much they just always hung out, but they never told each other that they liked each other. But they always thought to themselves like what they thought about each other, but they just never like had the nerve to actually like tell each other how they felt. Um, but yeah, so pretty much after before high school, like after they graduate from middle school. Well, actually, Mikako doesn't even get to graduate from middle school. Like I think a couple months before graduation, she gets recruited into the UN, which is pretty much like the space force that fights against the Tharsians, which are pretty much like aliens that I guess they attacked um, mankind while they're on Mars. But yeah, there's pretty much like a colony of Thar- Tharsians in the universe. Um, and yeah, so she ends up going to the space, which, and she ends up being aboard the, what is it called? The Ceticia, I believe it's called. And yeah, she just never gets to tell Nobu like how she feels, but they stay in contact. Like they like text each other, like nonstop, like while she's in space. Um, but eventually, like the farther she goes, then the longer the text messages or emails she sends Noboru will take. So at first, it's like it's going pretty fast, but once they get to like Jupiter, then the messages start taking like a week to send, and eventually she ends up going like 8 light years away, and she pretty much can't like really send Noboru messages because it takes like 8 years. Every light year is like a year, pretty much, of like how long the message takes to send. Um, but yeah, it's pretty good. Like she she has like a good character in this story because she really likes Noboru. Like she's really sat up there in space because she doesn't really like know anybody, and it's kind of like if you're 15 in space and you're in a robot fighting aliens, like that's got to be scary too. So the only person she thinks about is Nobu, because she wants to go back to Earth so bad, but like she can't. I guess it doesn't really say like if she can like eventually in the book, but yeah, she just really misses Earth, and yeah, so she's just she pretty much is regretful. She never told Nobu like how she felt, and once it hits the once she goes to the I think well, it's she's like 8 light years away. She starts like crying out, saying like how she's sorry to Nobu because I guess she really liked him, and she kind of regrets not telling him if he could wait for her. So it's kind of like they're just not able to like keep in contact, and she pretty much says like the last message she kind of sends him is that they're like what is how does she phrase it? She said they're lovers across space or something like that. But yeah, so that's half of the book, and then pretty much the rest of the book is Noboru and like his like how it is for him on Earth, and so yeah, he misses her too. Like he really liked her, but he just never got the nerve to tell her that he liked her. So pretty much, yeah, he's just waiting for the emails. He doesn't know like what's going on. Like once it gets to a year, he kind of starts forgetting about her. Like she starts fading from his memory, and he's just kind of like thinking like, should I forget about it too? Because his classmates kind of just completely forgot about her. Like they just didn't really care too much about her to remember her. But he was really close to her and liked her, so of course he remembered her. But yeah, after that, once it started taking a year, he just started like dating, like because he was just like it's time to move on basically. Um, and yeah, uh he gets an email from her saying that once he receives her recent email, it's gonna take 8 years, which when she's like 8 light years away. So when he realizes that, he's like, he pretty much just turns off his phone for 8 years, and he's like, I'm gonna not open it until 8 years from now. And during that time, he pretty much like dedicates his mind to wanting to join the UN so he could like go in space also. So yeah, he ends up like not lasting in relationships because his first one, she broke up with him because he's pretty much gonna like leave like to space. So there's no point of her staying either. Then he had two more girlfriends, which didn't work, but during that 8 years. But yeah, so pretty much at the end, he's just about to just get ready to go to space, and he's just hoping to find her and like wondering what she's been up to this the whole time. And yeah, honestly, this is a pretty good story. It's kind of sad, like how her feelings were for him, and just like how they felt for each other, like how they just couldn't communicate. That's all it pretty much is. Like eventually, they just couldn't communicate. It took longer and longer for them to receive messages. So it's a good story though. Honestly, it's worth like $15. This was better than I thought. I went to Barnes and I seen this. I was like, okay, this kind of looks like Your Name or something like that. Like just something like that, like similar. And I guess I found out that this guy, Makoto Shinkai, he's pretty much the author of that too. So this is definitely worth getting. There's no like, it's not like a manga. Like this is literally like a novel. There's no um, pictures, which kind of sucks. But they do have a manga version of this, which is one book. It doesn't have that much like words in it as this novel does, but it has like I guess good pictures. So I'm probably gonna pick that up eventually. Well, actually, I'm gonna probably order it today. But yeah, I definitely recommend getting this book if you're into like love story, like sci-fi stories. And it's not corny or cheesy. Like it's actually really good. And yeah, that's about it for the video.